What happens when a woman wants children and marriage doesn't come? Welcome to Altars and Agendas, where we wrestle with sacred tensions and ask questions we are not always allowed to ask out loud. Is choosing IVF or surrogacy an act of faith or defiance? Are we breaking God's order or breaking man-made expectations? Let's talk about the women who choose single motherhood on purpose and what that means for faith, culture, and the always evolving shape of family. For some women, this journey isn't about rejecting men or the institution of marriage. It's about accepting time, biology, and reality, and still believing that God can birth something beautiful in less than traditional ways. Genesis 1:28 says, "Be fruitful and multiply." It doesn't say, "Only when you have a husband." Take Chichi, a 42-year-old finance executive in Lagos. She spent years waiting on God, fasting, praying, and attending singles conferences. But by 40, she realized a fertility clock wouldn't wait. She opted for IVF using a donor's embryo. Today, she's a joyful mother of 2. Her words: "I stopped waiting for perfect and trusted God to bless my decision." A CDC study shows that between 2011 and 2021, the number of women who give birth via assisted reproductive technologies without a partner more than doubled. The majority were over 35, educated, and financially stable. Let's be honest, church culture has a timeline for women. You're expected to wait for your husband, and then when you're married, you're expected to wait on the Lord for children. No pressure, right? But here's the silent tragedy. Many married women facing infertility suffer in silence. They delay seeking help, postpone medical evaluations, even ignore symptoms, because they have been taught that pursuing solutions means lacking faith. Bola, a 36-year-old woman in Abuja, struggled with infertility for 5 years. She said, "Every time I brought up IVF, someone reminded me that Sarah waited, that Anna cried, that God will do it in His time." By the time she finally saw a specialist, her ovarian reserve had drastically diminished, and she grieved not just the delay, but the guilt she had been fed in the name of faith. But here's the thing, Sarah lived in a time without fertility science. We don't. And if we believe all healing comes from God, why do we draw the line between prayer and medicine? Reverend Dr. Renita Wims said, "We must separate what is holy from what is habitual." For women like Sandra, a 39-year-old Canadian pastor, choosing IVF was not a rebellion, it was a prayer. She said, "I asked God to close the door if it wasn't His will. Instead, He opened it wide." Let's not throw out the baby with the baptismal water. There are blessings in the nuclear family structure. Children thrive with the stability of 2 loving, present parents. There is emotional, financial, and spiritual support. It's a team sport. The nuclear family isn't outdated. It's just not the only valid model. But we must also acknowledge the potential disadvantage of single parenthood. Burnout is real. One parent doing the job of 2. And children may long for the presence of the missing parent, even in loving homes. And then there is economic strain, time poverty, and stigma, especially for women of color. According to Pew Research, children raised by single parents are more likely to face poverty, behavioral challenges, and educational struggles. But when the parent is emotionally and financially stable, those risks dramatically decrease. Here is the question we all wrestle with. Where is the line between trusting God and taking steps? Faith is not passive waiting. It is active obedience. And sometimes that means kneeling in prayers. But other times it means booking that appointment, doing the test, and starting the treatment. A Christian fertility counselor said, "God is not offended by your effort. He is only dishonored when fear makes you do nothing." So whether you're single and choosing IVF, or married and silently struggling, this is your permission to move. Because maybe, just maybe, moving is waiting on God. just not the way we were taught. So here's what I leave you with. Motherhood doesn't have to wear a ring to be holy. Family doesn't have to look traditional to be blessed. And women, especially women of faith, don't have to apologize for wanting children, even if marriage hasn't arrived. If you're in this tension, I see you. And if you're judging it, I invite you to question what part of your belief is biblical and what part is inherited shame. This is Authors and Agendas, where we lay down easy answers and pick up grace. Until next time.